and welcome everybody to yet another exciting and empowering episode of Strength Hub by CXO Digital Pulse, where we celebrate the driving force behind progress. That's women. And today, in our pursuit to invest in women and accelerate change, we're delving into the inspirational story of Mbali, a dynamic leader whose path for the vibrant landscapes of Africa to the bustling streets of Dubai reflect resilience, determination, and a commitment to sustainability. I'm sure you're all excited to uncover Mbali's remarkable journey and explore the transformative experiences, the leadership insights, and the impactful strides that she's making in shaping a more sustainable future. Let's get ready to be inspired. Thank you very much, Mbali, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kanchi. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. And how about yourself?
I'm well, thank you.
Brilliant. So let's just jump into the first question directly. And I'd like to understand, with everything that you've done and, your pursuit for sustainability, how do you manage being a woman professional and an advocate for sustainability across settings, drawing from experiences in Africa and now in Dubai?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and it's been an interesting journey. A lot of ups and downs, but I'd like to think more ups than downs. And the journey hasn't just been a geographic shift from moving from Africa to Dubai or the UAE, but it's also been my personal sustainability journey, right? And I've seen some common threads in terms of how I have managed or navigated the changes. I think the first thing that's really important that's helped me is firstly just you need to believe in what you're doing, right? So would you really buy what you're selling? And I think that's the first main important thing, is that you need to really believe in sustainability if you're going out to create this, maybe I call it a consciousness for corporate sustainability. So believe in that this is something that's going to create impact. This is something that's going to be valuable. And if you believe that, I truly feel that you're already a step ahead in being able to propagate, sustainable operations or sustainability strategy, because it's something that you truly believe in. Another way that I think that I've managed is also, I think we all know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know, right? So it's important to know a lot about your craft, be skilled, be knowledgeable, but that gap of not knowing what you don't know, what's been really useful for me is surrounding myself with people who not just equally knowledgeable, but more knowledgeable than you, right? Because that helps you when there are those gaps. So you are able to learn, you're able to articulate things a little bit better because you've got that support system that really covers where you might be lacking. So yeah, I think it's that first sort of understanding and believing, and in a certain skilling yourself, and where the gaps, surround yourself with people who can support that. And then I think there's an interesting Japanese term. It's called nemawashi. So it's really about how in corporate or in a business environment you should be gaining favor or sort of an understanding or momentum on an idea before it's formally pitched. So basically your hallways before boardrooms. And right. I think really important in the sustainability field, right? Because in a lot of spaces, it's really relatively new. So it's important to be able to have those conversations, get that momentum going, getting that prior buy-in before something is formally pitched in a boardroom. And that's been really useful for me. So I think that's across the board has really helped me in terms of managing, being in the space and also being a female in the space and transitioning from Africa into the UAE.
Brilliant. And like you mentioned, transitioning is not just in the geographic terms. We've also seen you transitioning from a scientist to spearheading sustainability efforts in financial institutions. What aspects of your career transformation have been most fulfilling on this journey?
I think inherently being in the field of sustainability, there's going to be a lot of fulfillment, right? So for me, it's been able to do work, and we all have different levels of how we contribute, but in whatever form it is for you. For me, that fulfillment has come in, things like when you're managing risk, for example, your environmental risk, your social risk, that's positive for me. Or in my field, when you are in sustainable finance, for example, and you're propagating capital or finances to businesses or to operations that are doing good for the environment or are doing something socially. There's funds where you are looking at people that are previously financially excluded, and you're supporting them, or looking from an environmental perspective to make an impact. Those things for me have been impactful. And then I think the second layer of it is also just being able to create representation. So it's great for me to be a woman of color from Africa, to be in the space. I'm already a minority, but I'm a minority within a minority, right? Yeah. And to have that is so fulfilling for me. I have 2 small girls. So to be able to show up and create that representation, just being visible, just showing that, we can also take up the space, you can also do well in the space, and you can make your mark and contribute in the space, has been truly fulfilling for me. So yeah, I think those 2 things have been amazing.
Brilliant. You mentioned and touched upon being a minority and especially thriving as a woman of color. Could you shine some light on what obstacles do women encounter in leadership roles within the sustainability sector, of course, and what exactly can be done to overcome these obstacles?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you're saying, already there's challenges, right? And then there's an additional layer on top of that. Because business is generally dominated by males. So you're already in that environment, and that's something that you need to be mindful of and that you need to be managing. So we come up against a lot of challenges, firstly, because you're female, and then secondly, because, like I said, in some spaces, sustainability or ESG is still relatively new. So uptake isn't always, easy. You might find some resistance, and those are, I think, really the main challenges that we find. And I think maybe one of the ways that could be really helpful is when women are put in these leadership positions, it's so important for organizations to truly empower them. I don't think there's anything more frustrating than being in a leadership position, but you don't have the actual authority to implement or to do things the way that you want to do them. So organizations, the sustainability field at large, I think if you are operating in the space, one of the things that is absolutely critical for any success of a sustainability strategy or whatever it is that you're trying to do is truly empowering the people that you're putting in a leadership position. It shouldn't be you physically sitting there and not being able to make the decisions that you want to make, and to be rolling out things in a manner that makes the most sense to you. You should be empowered, and you should truly have a say in how you manage your space.
Brilliant, and I couldn't agree more with that assertion. Absolutely fabulous. Well, having spoken about overcoming obstacles, I'd like to focus on and zoom into a project or an initiative that you're absolutely proud of and how it aligns with your values and vision for the future.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And I think, having moved across, various banks in Africa and now here in Dubai, there's so much. And what's amazing about sustainability is that I remember I was at Cambridge, and we learned about organizational purpose and your personal purpose, and how you need to align those 2. And I found that really interesting, right? Because usually we go to work because this is what the company does and this is what I do in the company, and you don't think beyond that. But if your organization has an organizational purpose that meets your personal purpose, right? In terms of Mbali wants to make a difference in the world. I want to make a mark in the world. I want to be someone that contributes towards a sustainable future. Then when you align those 2 things, everything that you do, right? You have that fulfillment and that purpose. And like I said, there's just so much in what I've done. Maybe in my previous life, one of the really big moments for me was I was at First Rand, And I can mention this, it's in the public domain now. It was one of the very first sort of big, it was an ESG or ENS due diligence that we had at the time, and it was for a coal-fired power station. And that power station was going to be, how do I say it? The pollution and the impacts, the environmental and social impacts that were going to come from this project were enormous. They were going to be over and above what the limitations and the thresholds would be for it to operate. The technology was bad, water quality, availability, all of those things were an issue. And as an environmental team, we went about trying to make sure that the bank does not finance this power station. And that was one of the first in our case where we got a positive outcome. And because we were able to evidence that the environmental and the social impacts were going to be so negative, the bank understood that this is not something that we want to involve ourselves in. So I think that was a really interesting example where I kind of felt like, wow, I've made a difference. This is going to be a very real environmental, impact, and also socially. And then there's also other things in other spaces where I was in Melville Douglas, for example, within the Standard Bank Group, where we did things like working on impact funds. And again, I think I mentioned, where you are now investing or taking capital and directing it towards clients or organizations that are delivering on a sustainable future. So those things, they are day-to-day things that an environmentalist or whoever in our space would be working on. And those just align with your purpose every time you do something positive, and they add that value, and you reassure that I'm in the right space and I am making my mark in some shape or form. Yeah.
Absolutely. Brilliant. It's totally fascinating. And taking that decision at a level where you decide that, for the ESG and to promote all the goals within the sustainability space, you do not finance a project as large as a powerhouse. You know, that business decision over the decision for the planet. Brilliant.
Yeah, no, it really was, I think, a big moment for us. And yeah, I think also it's important to understand that sustainability or ESG is not about hindering business. It's just making sure that you're operating in a sustainable way. That's all it is.
Absolutely. Well, Bali, that brings us to my favorite part of the conversation, which is the rapid fire round. And I'm going to delve into it if you're ready.
I'm ready. You can shoot.
Perfect. So I'm now going behind the shooting gun to fire away. My first question: who's your personal mentor and why?
I do not have a mentor. And the reason why I don't have one mentor is I came across this really fascinating framework. It's called your personal board of directors. And I thought that was really interesting. I think a lot of the times we focus a lot on one person and expect to get, advice and knowledge and all of those things from one person. But how this works is you have different directors in your board. And how it's worked in my life is, as a mom, for example, I have a board of director that I lean to, a good friend of mine that's also a mom. And I lean on her for, advice on my family, my kids, my relationships, and that's worked. I have another board of director for finances, for example, someone who's really good in the financial space. So yeah, you get people in different areas that will bring that value. And I think that's really worked for me. And you get the best, I think, out of different people as opposed to, imagining that one person is going to be all of those things to you. So yeah, that's been really, really helpful.
Brilliant. Well, that's really nice that you have not just one mentor, but many who can come and influence you.
Yeah, and I think it's also, it doesn't have to be someone of stature. It could be day-to-day people in your life that are, quite good in that specific field that you're thinking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My next question. One piece of advice for aspiring leaders, especially in sustainability.
Have thick skin. I'm joking. No, I mean, I joke and say have thick skin, but yes, there is a layer of that where you have to be resilient. But there's just so much fulfillment and so much success in, what you do and what you gain. So Maybe what's important that I've learned along the way, I mean, having this conversation right now, is just being visible. It doesn't have to be a huge, thought leadership seminar. Start systematically, have conversations, whether it be at work, whether it be in a personal capacity, do podcasts, sit on, associations, working groups. Just be visible, have your name out there being associated with what it is that you believe in and what you're trying to align yourself with. And in time, your name will be out there. And, when someone thinks about Mbali, they'll be like, oh, isn't that the lady that's in sustainability? That will accompany what you are known for. So don't be shy. Also, don't wait to be amazing at everything. You'll learn along the way. Don't be afraid to fail. That's what learning is. So be confident in what you're doing. Even if you're not 100% there, continue and just be visible.
Fantastic. Well, to be the person that you are, what are the aspects of your morning routine that help you set the tone for the day?
Nothing serious, quite silly, but I think music. So I always make sure that I have music in the morning when I get ready. It's fun. I think music is a spiritual thing. It really sets the tone for how you're going to receive the day. So for me, that's really important. Whether you're trying to pick up your mood or trying to be in a relaxed state, I really believe that music is the best way to set the tone. So that's what I work with every morning. Yeah.
Fantastic. And we're quickly going to take a peek into a tip for balancing work and personal life, especially in demanding situations.
Oh my goodness, there's no such thing as balance. But yeah, I think there is no balance as such. I think I heard this once. I don't know where I heard it from, but someone was talking about trade-offs. And I thought that was really interesting, right? Because you are at some stage you're going to be at work, which means that you're missing out on a little bit of family time. And sometimes it will be the other way around, where maybe you are missing out on a work opportunity because of your family and so forth. So there's never going to be a perfect balance, but you should be able to understand which trade-offs make the most sense to you, and you get the most value out of creating that cycle of, maybe today I'll spend more time here and a little bit less time there. And that's truly what's worked for me.
Fantastic. Well, you've shared some brilliant insights with us on this episode, Mbali. Thank you very much for being with us and taking this up.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely chatting.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to all our viewers who are actually drawing nourishment from this inspiring conversation, which has come to a close, Mbali's journey serves as a powerful reminder of the boundless potential within each one of us to effect change and drive progress. Her story exemplifies resilience, passion, and a deep commitment for sustainability, which is actually illuminating the transformative impact that we have, especially of investing in women. As we continue our journey on Strengther, we invite you to keep watching more such stories, just like Mbali Makhanthini's, the stories that embody the spirit of resilience, determination, and empowerment. Let's all join in and together celebrate remarkable women shaping our world and driving us towards a brighter and more sustainable future.